story on Facebook or on here about what I was going to be doing today. I just wanted to pop on for a few seconds. I won't keep you on here for a long time, but I want you to really feel like you can answer or you can ask me any questions you want in the comments. So I have a plain 10-inch round vanilla buttercream iced cake here. As you can see, it's just going to be a birthday cake. They just asked for some flowers. That was really the only criteria they gave me, which is perfect. So what I've got is I've made a few different colors. I've got them all in their piping bags here with the different tips on the end. I'm gonna do some with those kind of Russian tips is what they're called, and it pipes an individual flower, like a small little rose. So I'm gonna do that in this like periwinkle color. And then of course I've got some green with a leaf tip in that. And then I did go ahead and bag up some white buttercream with a round tip to just do the borders. And then I have some yellow buttercream, and this is a really small like drop flower tip, and it actually has a little knot in the center of it. You'll see when I pipe it, it leaves a hole in the center, so I can go back and add like a pearl or something to it if I want to. And then this is your classic petal tip, the number 104 by Wilton. I've got like a whatever corally pink color in here. So I'm just gonna do a few flowers here, a few here, and then I'll leave space in the middle because I'm gonna write on this before they pick it up. So while I'm doing this, I'm just gonna keep working. I'll talk about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But if you have any questions about the flowers, about cake, about icing, about baking, about my Cake in Real Life program that you see me talk about on here, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can go along. I have no problem doing that. That's why I'm here. Okay. So, like I said, I'm just going to kind of frame in where I'll normally put the words. And if you've never used one of these Russian icing tips, you have to kind of get used to it. So you want to hold it straight up and down. Like a lot of times when you're doing flower petals, you'll want to hold it at an angle, but you're going to hold this straight up and down, and you're not going to pipe these onto like a flower nail like you would for a Wilton rose. You're actually going to pipe them directly onto your iced cake. So, for instance, I'll get a little closer to you here. You're just going to hover like kind of right above the cake, squeeze until it attaches, and then slowly pull up like that. Okay, let's do it again. So you're gonna hold right and then squeeze. There we go, and let go. Now, let me hold this where you can see it a little bit. So it looks like in the very center, it's a small little drop rose. And so you use these as more of a filler. They're not huge. You're not gonna, just do a bouquet of these. You could on a smaller cake or on cupcakes, but on this cake, it's gonna be more of a filler. So let me do that again at an angle so you can see. You can kind of, I like to group them together by threes. It's gonna keep doing that to me. I like to group them together by threes and pull up. Okay, and I'll do more of these, but I wanted to show you that one first. And then the biggest flower I'm gonna be piping is gonna be a rose. The 104 tip by Wilton. I am gonna use a flower nail. Now, the difference is when you go buy a kit or the equipment that you need to make a Wilton rose, you generally buy this little pair, it looks like plastic scissors, but they're kind of at an angle, and it's used to pick the flower up off the nail and place it onto the cake. But I always break those for some reason, so I just buy like really small scissors, same thing with a pointy end. So you're gonna grab your flower nail, and I'm actually gonna come to the side here so you can see more detail. So you're gonna grab your flower nail, flat silver nail. You can get different sizes. This one's a little bit larger. It says 13 on it if you're curious to know. And you can get a round tip in this and pipe a big round dollop and pipe the petals around it, but because I hate trading tips back and forth, I just use my same petal tip. I hold it straight up and down, and I'm gonna go back and forth, larger and then smaller, and build myself like a little triangle amount of buttercream like that. And I'm gonna build my petals around that. So here's what it's gonna look like. You're gonna start with the fat end pointing down, because if you look at the end of this, it's kind of like a teardrop shape. Can you all see that? Yeah, okay. So the fat end facing down, touching towards the top of your little mound here. And you're gonna squeeze a little bit to make sure it touches and catches, and then you kind of arch up a little bit, like arch up and back down. And you don't want the center petals, these petals, to be really wide. You kind of want to angle them in where it's more closed off. And then as you go further out, you're going to keep covering each seam, each piece, each petal back and forth where they touch. You're going to kind of go back and cover. And I'm just doing this over and over, but I'm getting wider and wider. And of course, the more petals you add, the larger your flower will be. And that's what you're left with. So I'm going to pick this up. And how you do that is you open your scissors about halfway. You're going to place them under, on either side of your rose. Go to close them, but don't close them all the way. Only close them, you got about maybe a ½ inch in between before closing. So it's kind of holding that rose, not just in the center. And then you're gonna, I take in my left hand because that's what's holding, and I make the scissors touch the cake and then close the scissors and pull away. So let's do that again. Okay. Again, let's see here. Make your mound. And then this time, I didn't do it on the first one because you don't have to, but I'm actually going to show you, if you really want it to look like a closed off center, you can actually pipe one little round circle with the petal tip where it looks more closed off. Oh, sorry. Where it looks more closed off in the center, and then you can build your petals around that. It's going to look a little bit more realistic that way if you wanted to go that route. But again, you're just going to arch up for each petal, covering the end of the petal before it. Always covering your seams. Oh, make sure I'm staying in camera here for you. And there, whoop, and there's your rose. So, same thing. I'm gonna put one on this side. Scissors on either side, blade on either side, close them not quite all the way, and pulling my nail away. Laying it down, pulling away. So as of now, this is what I have. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do a really small rose in that coral color right here. Do I have any questions while I'm pausing? Let me see here if I can see questions. All right, we're all good. All right, so to make a smaller rose, same idea, less petals. So you're gonna build the mound. I'm gonna do the mound a little smaller because I make it a smaller flower. Let me get back over here. I'm gonna pipe on that petal in the middle that wraps around and then build around it. So it's a little smaller, a little more closed off looking. And so I'm gonna put it right here. So again, picking that rose up, moving the nail away, and I'm gonna tuck it right in beside those blue flowers. And don't worry about, like, you can see where I touched it with the scissors, or you're gonna put leaves. The leaves are gonna kind of cover that up. And let me show you. So from the side, you'll have the blue is surrounded by the coral. Okay. So now I'm going to show you a few of the drop yellow flowers. And this is what this tip looks like, as I was trying to explain to you earlier. So it kind of looks like a star tip in that it has several openings, but it also has this little centerpiece that will leave a hole in the middle of the petals. Let it build up and then release. Squeeze and then release. Same thing on this side. On top of each other to give something like that. Okay. Now let's pipe some leaves on. And the leaf tip that I like to use looks kind of like a V. Okay, so it's open and there's a point on either end. And how you angle that, you lay it on its side, so it's like a mouth. Okay, you lay it on its side, and the bottom point is gonna sit a little bit against the buttercream. You don't wanna dig into the buttercream, but it's gonna sit against it, and that's where you're going to start your leaf. And you're gonna tuck your tip underneath a little bit of the flower so it looks like it's growing out from under it. So like right here on this rose, let me bring you closer. I can see here where my scissors touched down when I was putting the flower on the cake. So I'm gonna put that point there. I'm gonna squeeze, continue to squeeze until it builds up, and then I'm slowly pulling away, and there's a leaf. And these really do make a huge difference, especially if you were putting flowers all the way around. And this stick is going to look almost like a wreath. So I this little bunch of flowers I have here and fill in any spots that just need a little extra color or just need to be covered up a little bit. And I kind of work all the way around. So you have something like that, like a little bouquet of flowers. Now you could leave it like that. You can go ahead and write on the cake. I think I'm gonna do another little area, maybe only 2 of the roses on this side with those filler flowers, just because it's a 10-inch round, so there's a lot more surface area to cover. So you kind of decide. So when you're looking at the cake, when you're gonna write on the cake, if it's facing me, I'm gonna write directly here. So I kind of like that these are the top right corner, so I'm gonna do a bushel down here at the bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to start with the roses this time. So I've got my tower of buttercream here. Wrap around and then arch. And I'm using a crusting buttercream. So for any of you who have a different type of buttercream, you're still going to go about this the same way, but it might look a little bit different. So mine's a really sturdy buttercream. It holds shape well. Okay. One down here. Now this is next one. I'm going to go a little smaller. Wrap around. And continue. More of a closed off look. Like that. Pick this one up. And I'm going to place it here, I think. Because it's kind of like a picture frame is how I think about it. Like, how do I want to frame the writing with these flowers? All right, let's add some of our blue. Press down, release. I'm actually going to put a couple of blue ones on this end over here. Let me go back with the yellow and fill in. I like to put a little bit on the side because these yellow ones are good for like kind of coming down over the edge of the cake. It's hard to do that with a rose or something because the weight of it would make it fall. So this is good to kind of move down the cake. And let's see, do a little bit more here. I think I'm gonna add one more blue. Okay, let me go in with my leaf here and see what I can get. And then when I get done, I'm gonna add a few little pearls to this to kind of dress it up. That's a really easy addition. And a lot of people like that. And these style cakes, I mean, this is a classic buttercream with the Wilton rose, with the flowers piped on and the leaves. This is your classic birthday cake. Okay. I think that's good. I don't know if I want to write it like this or like this, but I think this. Okay, so let me grab some pearls and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go with the yellow. I think I'm going to do, and these are a really pale yellow. They're just really small pearls. Let's see, what size are these? I don't even know. Let me show you. Okay, they're really tiny little pearls. And so, now you want to do this pretty much immediately after you pipe the flowers because if the buttercream crusts over too much, they won't stick. So, and I don't just throw them on here. I kind of place them around the flowers. Definitely want them to go onto the yellow, so it looks like these little yellow pearls are maybe the center on some of these yellow flowers that we piped. Oh, there goes one. And always, these are like perfect little, almost, you know, marble type, and they will roll everywhere. So good luck with that. Okay. Do some on this side. And I'll show you it up close here in a minute of what those pearls look like once they're on the buttercream. But you could also do a larger pearl, like an iridescent that doesn't really have any kind of color to it, but it just adds a little bit of dressiness to the cake. I'm sure you heard those fall. Okay, so I'm gonna bring the cake a little closer. So you see the pearls on there, it just dresses it up a little bit. Nothing crazy, but I like it. Okay, now I'm not gonna write on it right now, but I am gonna go ahead and pipe on some borders so you can kind of see how that works. So this is a large round tip, it's a number 12. And I'm gonna bring this a little closer again. I'm gonna start here. If you've never done a border of any kind before, it's all about the amount of pressure you apply. So you're gonna lay your tip like at an angle against the cake board and the bottom of the cake where they meet. And you're gonna squeeze and pull back. Squeeze and pull back. And so it leaves that little point, but you wanna cover up the point with the next bead. So squeeze and pull away. And when you pull away, you're also releasing. You're stopping, you're not squeezing anymore. So release, squeeze and release. And you do that all the way around. And you can make these as small as or as large as you want. So for instance, if this was a wedding cake, I wouldn't go quite this large on the pearl. I would go with maybe a number 5 tip. So like half this size. Just because it looks a little bit more elegant if it's a little bit smaller. But on a birthday cake, I think it's perfectly fine. And this is the same way you would apply a shell border, which is done with a number 21 tip. The same amount of pressure and everything, it just looks a little bit different. It comes out more of a shell look because it has lines in it. It has more of a textured look. I tend to prefer the bead, the pearl look over the shell. Okay, so there's that. Now, I do want to put a little bit of a border, not much, but on either side of the flowers. And then once I write on it, I can always go back and add more flowers. So if I write on this and I think it just looks and needs a little bit more, I'll just add a few more flowers. No biggie. Okay, so let me switch tips. I'm going to switch to, let me see if I have a number 5 available. Yes, okay, so these are going to be, you wouldn't write with these unless you were writing onto a large cake or were just putting a number on the cake. It's a little bit too fat for like cursive writing, but it's really good for small borders as well. So for the small border, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do a bead. I'm going to do kind of like a scalloped edge in the white. So it doesn't stand out too much because it's white against a white cake, but it's enough to really add a little bit of extra decoration. So you're going to start right at the edge of your flower. So it almost looks like you've laid the flowers on top of that scallop edge. And I'm just curling in almost like little backward C's, back and forth. Let me get on this side so you can see better. Is that better? Okay, and then this one, and this one. And even if you have to curl underneath the flowers, that's okay. So I'm gonna start underneath here and curl out. And it just leaves you with that nice little bit of an edge where it doesn't look quite so blank. Okay, so I'll go back on this later and write on it. I'm not even sure what color I'm going to use yet, but I'll figure it out here in a minute. But before we go, does anybody have any questions about the flowers, about cakes in general? What are you thinking? Let me see here. No questions? Well, anyway, if you are considering starting your own side hustle out of your home, or if you just want to learn as a hobbyist, whatever your thoughts are on cakes, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment on this video, to message me on Facebook. I have a business Facebook page and a personal Facebook page, so either one are fine. And just let me know what questions you have. You can also email me at thesweetshopbybeth@gmail.com with any questions you have there, and I can answer those, whether it be just a general question about a cake, or if it's something about Maybe you're considering starting your own side hustle or small business from home. And a lot of people are scared to do that because where are you going to do it? What kind of equipment do you need? How much money do you have to invest? All of those things are big questions and they're very scary. And I'll be glad to walk through you with that and kind of help you figure out if it's for you, if this is a good decision for you or if it's not. And then I'll also be here to help you, to guide you, to give you a list of things you need versus that you don't necessarily need to get started. But yeah, just let me know what questions you have. Thanks for joining me. Please check out my other videos. I've got lots of them. I'm going to try to pop on again over the weekend and do an Easter tutorial on a little 6-inch round cake with big bunny ears. They would be great to do for Easter for your family or for customers if you're already a cake decorator. So thanks for watching, and I'll check back in later.